Hello everyone and welcome to a new video from the Tech Architect channel. In this video I will be doing a book review for the Solution Architect's Handbook. The whole intention of doing this book review is to provide an objective feedback for potential readers, as this book is already rated 4.7 stars in Amazon.com and it has been recommended from multiple architects around the world. Also, I would like to provide a constructive feedback for the authors that they might take it into consideration when they publish a newer version of this book. I would like to highlight that this video is not sponsored and I have purchased an electronic version from the Solution Architect's Handbook from my personal budget. So whatever is coming in this video, it is representing my personal opinion and not affected or biased by any publisher or author. And regarding our great authors we are having for this book, we are having Saurabh Srivastava and Nelly Srivastava, and sorry if I am pronouncing their names not correctly, but they are currently working in AWS and they are coming from different background. And I think when I have looked into the LinkedIn profiles for the two authors, I found Saurabh is actually taking the technical path, starting from a developer, team leader, and then architect, and of course now senior leader in AWS, while Nelly is started with quality assurance and then a Scrum Master and currently a Senior Product Manager. And I wanted to mention this background for every author because actually the mix produced for us a very great book, and this will be clear when we are going to cover the topic that is covered by this book. I have classified the topics that is covered in this book into three main categories. The red one, which I think they are the essential for any solution architect, and the green one, it is of course they are very nice to have, but they are usually delegated to other team members in the team. And there is the blue one, which is actually specific needs based on the nature of the project. So I will start with the essential for any solution architect. The book starts with the meaning of the solution architect, different types, and how the solution architect is positioned in an organization. And by the way, it is different from every organization to another's. And then starting from chapter 3, it started to discuss the attributes of the solution architects and non-function requirements, and of course what is the principles of solution architect regarding the decoupling and a lot of other examples. And then the chapter of 5, which is very great chapter about the cloud migration, and if you are having a hybrid cloud architecture design, if you are having on-premise solution and there is also a cloud. And by the way, I wanted to highlight that the solution architect who will benefit from this book, either you are working on an on-premise, you are working on AWS, GCP or Azure, it will not make a big difference. The book is already using the iconography of AWS, but if you are coming from any other cloud environment, you will be able to understand because they are already mentioning the description of every service or product used from AWS, so you can easily grab what they already mean in this section. And then in chapter 6 they are having the design pattern, and actually they have this chapter, it was very good, showing multiple and actually a lot of design patterns that is used in the solution architect from end to end. Of course, chapter 7, it was talking about the performance consideration and how it affects the user experience and how to handle something like the performance consideration in any project. Chapter 8 is talking about the security consideration, and it covered a lot of security aspects. And of course, you know that the security, it is integrated in any solution design and it passes by multiple layers from the networking, the application, the infrastructure. That's why this chapter was very essential and it is very important for any architect. Chapter 9, it is talking about the reliability consideration, which is very good. Some of the people, they found that when you are already published your website, your job is nearly done, but actually this operation excellence consideration showing the importance of monitoring and measuring the performance and doing always improvement to your solution when it is already public is very, very important. Chapter 11, it is talking about the cost consideration, and of course you need to be very careful, especially when you are having a solution on the cloud, how much it will cost you. That's why this is very important aspect for any solution architect. I will jump to chapter 17 because it is, from my point of view, it is essential for any solution architect, re-architecting legacy systems. And actually I found it is very, very good to dedicate one chapter regarding the architecting of legacy book and legacy systems, and offering what you need to do for if you are in such a situation. And if you are working as a solution architect, 100% you have passed by such a situation in one or multiple systems and you needed to do a modernization. That's why this chapter is very important. Chapter 18, it is dedicated for the solution architecture document, its structure, what you need to include in a solution architecture document in order to show your work and to be able to communicate your work to various team members in your project. And chapter 19 related to the soft skills, which is very, very important for any solution architect. So the first red category, from my point of view, it is classified as an essential for any solution architect. Now we'll go for that is the green one, which is usually dedicated. Of course, you need here to understand the DevOps, or you are having any SDLC, or you are having DevSecOps or whatever, but usually you are having a DevOps engineer who is handling all this CI/CD and all this work. But as a solution architect, you need to understand what is actually happening, because you are having the solution from end to end, including the deployments and whatever. So it is very important you are having a very good communication with the DevOps engineer. And for chapter 13, it is dedicated for the data engineering for solution architecture. I thought from the depth what is mentioned in this books and in this book, and it is having a lot of data lake, the data and its structure, ingestions, how to do the analytics of this data. Usually I found when we are having a project with this level of depth in the data, usually there is a data architect along with the solution architect. That's why I thought also this chapter is delegated to someone else. For chapter 14, 15 and 16, they are talking about the machine learning, Internet of Things and the quantum computing. And here why I am mentioning they are specific need. It is based on the project. You are already having machine learning. It will, chapter 14, it will give you a very good introduction level to machine learning and how you should distribute your data, and doing the data for the training, for the validation, for the testing. And for chapter 15, it is talking about the Internet of Things, which is very, very important nowadays. But again, it is based on if you are dealing with this in your solution or not. So it is talking about various devices, their operating system, what is the protocols is they are communicating with the back end. Okay. And chapter 16, it is talking about quantum computing, and it is very high level structure showing that the quantum computing might be the future, and how it is its speed is very superior to what we are having as of today. but actually it is not yet commercialized. That's why you cannot find a lot of adoption nowadays, and they are really very specific now. There is always a relation between a solution architect and T-shaped skill profile. You will find any solution architect is either coming from a developer background or an infrastructure background. Some of them are coming from security, but they are not that much. This represents the depth of expertise. What is his main background? But actually, to be a good solution architect, you need to have a lot of essential skills, and this is called the breadth of essential skills, the principal, patterns, non-function, requirement, operation, and whatever related to this part. And you will find the book in order just to clarify the expectation when you are reading this book. The book is covering and is really doing a good job in covering this breadth of essential skills. And you should not be comparing this book to a book that is specialized in one dimension on one skill. And if I'm giving an example of scalability, there is a very good book called The Art of Scalability, or if you are considering data, you will find that in designing data intensive applications. You cannot compare the content of this book with other specialized book in one specific area. I would like here to highlight what I liked about the second edition. Striking the right balance in the book to provide useful information in breadth in such complex topic is hard, but it was achieved in this book. When you are talking or reading about the non-function requirements or the patterns and the security, although it is in breadth, but actually you will find yourself you already gained a lot of information after reading these specific parts from the book. And also, I think if you are reading the book, the essential part which I highlighted in red, which is chapters from 1 to 11 or 17, including also 17 to 19, in my humble opinion, I can consider it the de facto standard for any solution architect. The book is also written with very simple English, that's why it is very suitable for non-native English speaker. And I would like to highlight that the colored diagram that is also, it is very simple to understand. And I would like to highlight that I have read the electronic version of the book. I'm not sure if you have purchased or you are planning to purchase the hard copy, it will be colored or not, or if you are using the Kindle device in viewing the book, how the colored image it will be rendered. But I want to highlight that the coloring was very essential, at least from my perspective, when I am reading this book. You will find the diagrams are actually very, the majority of the diagrams, they are having block notations. They are using a lot of block notation in this book, or AWS iconography. And again, I want to mention, you don't relate this book as an AWS. You can read it if you are even working with Azure or Google, or even you are an on-premise architect working in an organization that is not having any cloud service, because every component it is already described with details, so you can understand what these diagrams represent. Also, we found some of the diagrams they are showing the layered architecture, and some of them they are using the value stream, and also some Venn diagrams when showing there is an intersection between multiple domains that is really clarified from the diagrams itself. And you will find some screenshots, mainly the screenshots it is coming from some back office screens from AWS, showing to you how this is actually represented in the real world. In just some few diagrams you will find there is some numbering for long interaction diagrams. I remember when I was reading the machine learning, it was very huge diagram, so it was having numbering, and every number it was referred with a description what is this actual number represent. And again, I want to emphasize that these diagrams were very simple, especially when he was just trying to highlight as an example concurrency versus parallelism, with just showing a diagram. Even you do not need to read the book because of the clarity. You do not need to read the description because of the clarity of this diagram. And actually, I searched the internet for this concurrency versus parallelism. I could not find a similar diagram to what is written here in the book. Sorry, I did not want to include it and show it here in this video because I don't want to violate any copyright. But actually, I think the diagrams, it was one of the biggest strengths in this book. You will find here the linking of the solution architect with the Agile DevOps and DevSecOps operation excellency is great actually. And that's why I really thank the two authors. They have joined the efforts in order to cover both the technical part and whatever Scrum, DevOps, Agile, because this is the right mix that is required by any solution architect. It's not only technical, you need to be aware about your SDLC, the process in your organization and whatever, which I think the book has them covered very, very good. Also, you will find there is a very good comparisons between various data types in the book in tabular form. Also, the migration strategy, which was one of the greatest chapter if you are going to migrate from on-premise solution to a hybrid or even cloud. Also, you will find some other comparison, REST and SOAP, why memcached and versus REST is very, very good. Here I am mentioning the process of cloud migration steps. Again, it was great. The decision tree for the cloud migration path for legacy system modernization, it was very clear. The diagrams are very, very clear in the decision tree, and also the description coming along with the diagrams. I hope there will be a third edition from this book in the near future. And if the authors will see this video, they might consider taking the following points into consideration. I am considering when I'm reading a very good technical book like this, that this book is like a guideline. And it can have some complementary add-ons, like this is a guideline and there is a template. And there is also an example for this template. As an example, we are having a dedicated chapter, and I will show you now about a dedicated chapter. I think it was chapter 18 about the solution architecture document. So what I have done, I have taken the content of this chapter and I converted it to a Word file. For a solution architecture document, I taking the table of contents that is mentioned in the book, and I converted every section from this part with a copy paste about a directive about what needs to be mentioned. By the way, I copied all this text from the book. Okay, and imagine this such great templates. It can be shared across all the solution architect or the people who has been reading this book, and everyone can contribute in this template. We will be finding a very, very good, as here as an example, as a solution architecture document. Let me give you a small sample of how this template can be improved. Here, as you can see, there is section 2.6 key architecture decision, and there was no direction from the book. If I am an architect that has been working and or have been reading mainly maybe other books like Software Architecture Foundation, or know the concept of ADR, which is Architecture Decision Records, I can have or enrich this templates with built-in, let's say for any architectural decision, I'm mentioning the decision, its description, the consequences, the status it have implemented. There are various or a lot of information that needs to be mentioned here. So imagine a platform where we can share all these templates and other solution architects can contribute to it. We will find a great template that can be used by other architect. This is an example of straightforward, just chapter 18, and I have been able to create such template. But I would like also to show you some other templates I have just imagined while I was just reading, I think, the first chapter 3, 4, and 5. I was imagining a situation, and you will find, I think, most of the solution architects, some people will ask them for consultation. So a client or customer, or even sometimes a friend, he was asking me, please, I want to take your decision or your opinion in this architecture, how we can modernize or whatever. So I thought, if I'm a solution architect and I am sitting with a client, what are the questions I need to ask this client, or he needs to provide me as an input in to do such architecture assessment. I have collected these questions from chapter, I think, 3, 4, and 5. Related to vision and target. Yes, I need to understand this. What is the business requirement? What is the number of customers? What is the project timeline? So you see, I have converted the book and its content into a template that will really help myself, and if again it is in a collaborative environment, it will help also other architects. And I have built these 4 pages of templates that can help any solution architect in something like this. And of course, this collaboration environment, it can work using Markdown or can using ASCII docs, so everyone, regardless of the format, and we can edit something like this, and it will be for the benefit for the whole community. This is for the first point. The second point, in some section, especially chapter 7, the data storage systems, I really would like if the information can be converted to a comparison table or decision tree between the object file and the block storage. It will be very easy to select which storage, type of storage, based on which factors. And also choosing the right database. I prefer also the textual that was written here in the book to be converted to a decision tree with the explanation for this decision tree. For chapter 18, I think the IT procurement documentation for solution architects needs enrichment. In chapter 18, actually this chapter was mainly related for the solution architecture document, and at the end it was mentioning the procurement and the difference between a request for information, request for quotation, request for proposals. But I think any solution architect, either he is working in the vendor side or the client side, he must be getting involved in the procurement process. And even you will find I have already made a video, and I will leave a link to this video in the description of this video, why I was the IT professional should be interested in APMP certification. APMP certification, it is a certification for proposal management. And I think I have made this video from 2 years, and I was clearly mentioning that the architect must understand the procurement process. And I think the information that is required to be mentioned, it can be as a separate chapter in this book to cover the whole IT procurement, which it is similar. And I found that the author is already certified in PMP, the normal PMP for project management. PMP, it is having a dedicated chapter for the procurement. And I think the solution architect should have also a chapter for the procurement from the solution architecture perspective. My final thoughts about the book, I'm really giving it a rating of 5 of 5. I'm really recommending this book for any solution architect. And I am recommending it for anyone targeting solution architect, either on-premise or in a cloud with any other vendor. And I don't think there is another book in any other platform is doing such a great job. Also, if you are an existing solution architect that need to cover other unknown areas, let's say that I want to seek some improvement in the area of the infrastructure or for the security, I think this book also, it will give you a very good foundation in these topics. I was asked that should I be recommending to read the book or the getting the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate. And in my opinion, it is not a comparison between apple to apple at all. But if you are planning to get the certification and you did not read the book, I think the better sequence is to start first reading the book and then you are getting the certification, but they cannot be compared to each other. I hope I have done a good job in conveying my opinion in this book. Please leave for me any comments about or any questions about the book, or if I need to enhance my style of doing the book reviews for technical books. I'm really welcoming any improvement I can do in next videos. And I know it was a long book review. That's why if you reach this level, I really appreciate if you hit like for this video, and really I appreciate your time. Thanks, and see you in the next video.